Ladies and gentlemen, I will call the Budget, Finance, and Investment Committee to order, and the first item on our agenda is to approve minutes of our last meeting.
Move to approve.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Second.
and seconded by Commissioner Sandlin. Are there any additions or corrections? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. That motion carries. Our investment report will be given by Mr. Beatty. Good evening, Mr. Beatty.
Good evening. We did not have any bids last month. Our LGIP rate is 0.14. But I thought I might give you a little explanation why rates last time were very slow. We're hopefully going to bid some in the next month or so. But when the tax law changed at the end of the year, and we all remember all of that negotiation, because since the crisis had come in, the FDIC was insuring non-interest bearing accounts above $250. It was an unlimited insurance. Well, in the negotiations at the end of the year, that went away, the unlimited insurance. So banks have had to go in with their larger depositors and move them into sweep accounts, different accounts, and it's required them to collateralize that money that's no longer insured. All of our money has to be collateralized as part of our agreement. So that money, not only are rates low, but because their collateral was tied up, it's kind of changed the stream a little bit until all of that settles out. So hopefully we'll see some more interest in our money, but that along with low rates had just really knocked some interest, because you know, last month and last bid we had I think just two bidders, and when we kind of discussed with bankers what was going on, that was their discussion. So hopefully as we move through the year that we'll see some things improve. So anyway, that's all I had. Commissioner.
Motion to approve the report.
Thank you, Commissioner
Second.
B. Seconded by Commissioner Schaefer. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, if you will locate your fund condition report, we will begin with the development tax report. Mrs. Nolan.
Okay. At the end of February, we had received $573,750. That brings our year-to-date total to $1,609,500.
Is that more multifamily?
That had to do with, we had apartments, 315 apartments that brought in $472,500.
It's a lot of people in a very small space, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, gentlemen, let's move to cash balances, please.
Our balance at the end of February was $225,611,000, with $210,494,000 being operating funds and $15,116,000 being borrowed funds. We had we closed on our refunding, and that is one of the reasons why when you look at our debt service, you know, we've had an odd comparison, because we had last year had borrowed $15 million out of the debt service fund for some construction until we went to the market last year. At this point in February, we had already had closed that deal and paid back the $15 million to the debt service. This year, in February, we closed on the two refundings, and in essence went ahead and paid interest that was due this year that we would have normally paid out later in the year if we went ahead and paid it when we closed those two refundings.
We've still got a little money left in the firing range, and shouldn't that be wrapped up by now?
Yes, there are some outstanding bills. I think last time I looked at what would be going through, it should be like $477 left after some payments that were made.
Not a lot of money. I thought it's been a long time. Still be some money floating around.
Curiosity, our total debt right now, round figures, right, about 350, 150 million?
It's
More than that.
Can't be.
it's around to there. I mean, I could tell you in just a little bit.
But it's somewhere in that, it's not 400 million yet.
It's not 400,
Okay.
no.
Because we paid off, and we probably That never won.
Any other discussion on the fund condition report?
Yeah, we've done some refinance.
Okay, gentlemen, let's move to revenue, Part A.
Okay, let me get there with you.
I guess that's the first one.
Revenue Part A. Okay, this is showing you our revenue for the general fund and the ambulance fund. And at the end of February, we were 78% collected. And I've changed my notes on the bottom. Y'all with me?
We're trying to figure out that.
Okay. I just didn't want to go ahead
It
and.
won't flip over, I think it's locked.
Oh, is it because it's locked? There's a little
I
button.
hit the little lock right there, dude. Like kids with toys up there.
And Mr. Sandlin, you shouldn't have lock and key down pat.
I got lock and key down, Pat, I just can't get it open.
That menu's not opening for him for
Yeah.
some reason.
Sales.
Take that. No, it's all right, it's all right, I got
Let's
it.
go.
Are we ready?
School
Yeah.
Okay.
situation.
We're showing, as I said, in the general fund, 78% collected. I guess one of the things that I want to bring to your attention, which you're not going to see this.
Yeah. No, I'm good, I'm
Are you
good. Yeah, here we go. Finally coming up. Now we're cooking. Go ahead.
Is the local taxes in the general fund. I just want to speak to this. It kind of goes through all the funds that have property tax. But in the general fund, at the end of February, collections are about 100,000 less in the general fund. At this point, you know, hopefully those that didn't make the deadline will pay in later. But the other thing that's concerning is I brought to your attention last time that we had to do some paybacks out of our pilot, and the pilots really only affect the general fund because that's where all the revenue from all those are accounted for. And we had another payout to one of our folks at Tippmann Interstate Warehousing that we paid back almost 123,000. So that particular line item will probably end the year. We'll have to adjust it down by about $464,000. So that's one I'm just kind of worried about. But sales tax, you know, in this one, it's up by about $72,000. That'll help that, and our hotel motel, which is also a local tax, is up too. So that's the one. That's what's giving a little heartburn in the general fund. Okay.
Are we ready for
And that's
revenue
it's
Part
a
B?
different Part B. Yes.
Okay, if you'll go to revenue Part B.
Part B is a little better picture. Of course, there's no property tax that's in Fund 116, and you can see on that, on the sales tax, the local tax, we've already completed 100% of what we had budgeted in local taxes for them, which of course that's the sales tax, that's the big one for them. Schools, you don't see the impact of the property tax on the current levy being less. It's because that the sales tax is coming in so much more. We have, for the schools, collected almost 7.4% more than we did in the prior year. In the debt service fund, the two local revenues, of course, is the current levy, plus all the other ones that relate to that. But also, you saw that development tax is up, so it's up in this fund as well. So that is taking kind of care of where the property tax is not coming in, the development tax is. So you can see on that, on the local taxes, we're 89% collected compared to last year where we were 87% collected.
Well, 3 out of 5, you've already met your estimates for the year. If I'm reading these stars right. So.
Well, anytime you see 100%, that means we've met it.
What's your little stars over there? for that?
That's just that it looks good, that 84% in like the local fines and penalties.
Means we're ahead of pace.
We're ahead of pace. Thank you.
End of last year at this time.
Yes.
Yeah,
And prior years too.
Drug control. Oh, it's minuscule.
Gentlemen, any further discussion or questions for Mrs. Nolan?
Motion to approve the report.
Thank you, Commissioner Sandlin.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jordan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, we are ready for the insurance financial report from Mrs. Stinson. Good evening, Mrs. Stinson.
Evening. If you're ready, we'll start with Fund 264. The claims experience for the month of February ended with a per employee per month basis of $585.77. That's compared to a prior year of $684.54 for a year-to-date average of $819.21 compared to a prior year of $821.08. We combine our clinic experience, our per employee per month insurance plan cost increases to $620.01 compared to prior year of $714.23 for a year-to-date average of $854.54 with a prior year-to-date average of $851.89. So our numbers look really good this month.
Are we ready
Cold
to
and
move?
flu
Oh, I'm
season
sorry.
haven't been that bad.
Well, the bills just may not be
That's
there
exactly
yet. It's all
right.
timing on this
Next
report.
month we'll
That's
see,
right.
yeah.
Seems like we're on a good trend. It's down
Well, so far.
several months.
What she's saying is don't say anything.
Yeah.
More people.
There's a lot of fluctuation in this report. All of you all have been here long enough to have seen it, so just take what we can get there.
Shall we move to 266?
On Fund 266, for the month of February, ending month of February, our year-to-date is $555,553.30 compared to prior year date of $785,204.87. So again, we see some improvement.
Motion to approve the report.
Thank you, Commissioner Sandlin.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jordan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer, did you have?
Just quickly, when's the next insurance committee?
Right
meeting?
now, we aren't scheduled for we aren't intending to have one in the month of March. We try to have them when there's enough agenda items to support the cost. So it looks like April will be the next one.
And when's that meet?
April the 25th at 1 o'clock.
Thank you.
Okay, I would like to introduce Ms. Pam Furlong from the Tennessee Rehabilitation Center at Murfreesboro. Good evening.
Hi.
And we are going to be seeing you again soon with your budget, but I understand you
ma'am.
need to alert us to
Yes,
a
you-
potential increase or a potential problem.
I do.
Okay.
Do y'all have a copy of my electric bill?
Yes, if this is what this if this is what this is.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And I think it goes kind of backwards. And
Okay.
the monthly statements don't come directly to me. They go to the state's finance and administration department. So I don't monitor these myself on a monthly basis. So as you can see, moving from the back to the front, you know, we were clipping right along, and then apparently they came out and changed my meter, and I didn't know it. And so my bills went from $500 to $700 a month up to thousands of dollars a month.
I say they change it back.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, I'm just real grateful that they didn't go back and want me to pay retro, you know. But so what that did to my funding, and as you well know, you provide a big chunk of my funding, I'm going to be short. Well, just in utilities alone, there's a difference of $14,600.
And they feel like the new meter is correct.
That's what they're telling me, that the old one has been broke for years, and what they're charging me now is correct.
And this 14,000, that's just through the current light bill, whenever that was, right?
Well, I'm looking at, and you don't have this
Oh.
form. These are my budgets, but my last year, the budget that they budgeted for utilities was it's projected to be $32,500
Wow.
in utility costs.
Do y'all heat with electricity? Or you got gas heat, so you just lights and
Yeah.
an awful lot of electric
That
for
seems like
use
a
for
lot,
no, if not
yeah.
heating with electricity.
Well, that's
Yeah.
a lot
That's
of
why I
corn.
wanted to come to you and kind of.
I'll get that looked at.
Well, I mean, Ben comes over, I mean, they check it on a regular basis, and if we think that it's not acting appropriately, we call Darlene and have her send Ben over right away, or the workers. Doesn't seem to be anything crazy wrong with it.
Are you saying that this 14,000 approximately should see you through the year? Is that what you're saying?
We're okay for this fiscal year, because there was enough, I had enough in reserve that we're covered for this fiscal year, we looked into that.
And your year is?
July.
Okay.
July. So what I'm looking at is for the next fiscal year, from July 1 to June
have to deal
30,
with it when we
13,
do our budget.
14.
So you're giving us a head up on your
Yeah,
budget?
because I'm
request.
gonna turn
Well,
my
that's right,
funding
tonight.
request in
Yeah,
on
we're not-
Monday, but it's gonna request an increase, and I just wanted,
Gentlemen, we'll deal with this when she brings her budget back, but she was just being very considerate and making sure that we had a heads up. Thank you.
Boy,
I about
sticker shock
choked
later
on
on.
it, so.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you so much.
Hope everything goes well tonight.
Yeah, me too.
Mr. Bolden, will you join us, please? I think everyone on the committee knows Mr. Bolden. He's here to present a resolution of the Industrial Development Board authorizing the issuance of revenue bonds for Goodwill Industries of Middle Tennessee.
Madam Chairman, this is a request, as you said, from Goodwill to actually construct 3 stores and 3 job training centers, one of which is in Rutherford County. The reason that we have a single request is the statute authorizes a borrower such as Goodwill to ask one county to do all 3, and they get some economies of scale from that. You have one bond issue and the cost associated with that single bond issue. There's no tax abatement request. It's just a revenue bond, and so there's no penalty to the county or to the Industrial Development Board. The company is the sole entity to repay the loan, so it's neutral to the county.
Like a pass-through.
Exactly. That's exactly what we are.
And if they don't pay the bond, it's between them and the bond issuer. The county's not liable at all, correct?
Yes, the board is actually the issuer, but there is as Commissioner Schaefer said, we're just a conduit, and there's a lender, and the company's the borrower, and we're in the middle because we have the legal authority to issue.
I understand that we're not liable if they fail there, but why are we seeing this one? Does it not meet the ratio requirements, or do we look at that on this one?
We don't have the tax abatement component of it at all, and so we have always come to the commission for approval of just bond issues, and we just quit doing that on the tax abatements that met the 3-to-1 cost benefit ratio.
You're talking like on low-cost housing or HUD housing or something that's been through us before, and
Yes.
elderly and this type of thing. Okay,
Exactly.
that's
If there's a
good.
bond component, we're up here asking you for permission to do it.
Okay. Motion to approve.
Commissioner Schaefer, thank you. Seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. Any further discussions or questions for Mr. Bolden?
Well, I got a question about something else, but
Okay.
should we take the vote first?
Yes. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, gentlemen. Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes, Ms. Bolden, could you get the next IDB meeting and just, it's just a request that what we have out on tax abatement now, if they could just give us a report. I think it's been about a year since the last time Mr. Baker came and gave us one, and just, status changes, if the companies are doing what they're supposed to, et cetera.
Be glad to. We'll certainly do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, we're ready for the general fund budget amendments. And we have a request from Archives. Mr. Lodel, I do not see Mr. Lodel.
I'll do it.
Okay, let's find.
This is request, wait a minute, is this local?
That's not too
Substitution.
much.
Whoa, wait. I gotta go to the
His,
beginning.
his part-time.
Yes, this is, he had one of his students that that's left and has taken another job, and so he would like to use some of the money that they have set aside for tuition reimbursement to go to part-time help. So this is a request of $1,876 from other charges to part-time Social Security and Medicare.
So moved.
Commissioner Sandlin, thank you. Seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Our next request is from Mr. Mitchell, Board of Equalization, and our property assessor's budget. Mr. Mitchell, good evening.
Good evening.
Do you have a copy of your
Yes, ma'am, I have it right here.
Okay.
My request is to transfer funds from the Board of Equalization budget to the reappraisal budget to purchase cost analysis valuation system for personal property. The cost of the system, of the licensing fee is $29.95, and I'm requesting a $3,000 transfer.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner P., seconded by Commissioner Sandlin.
Is this continuing, this will be a continuing, or is this a one-time use for
It'll
a
be
year?
a continuing, every year it'll be $29.95.
Okay. So
What that system is used for, whenever there's a forced assessment, or if there is an audit on a schedule, this system, which is tested nationally, has cost codes associated with each different business type. Somebody has a lawn care business, you don't know what type of equipment they have, they failed to file. This will have every type of equipment they could possibly have, so that our auditor will know what to go and look for, and if it's ever questioned or appealed, we have the documentation by a nationally syndicated firm that says this is what they should have, so we have a backup for placing a forced assessment. We had a test on it for 60 days, so we had a free look that I negotiated with them to let us use it. So far, it's almost paid for the subscription fee and what we picked up.
And you have quite a few people don't turn in their forms and
Have quite a
file
few
with
that
you.
don't. They will not turn in a form. We'll place a forced assessment on them this year. All we have is what we think they should have. The next year, they don't file again, so obviously we were too low. Because they're coming out better by not reporting it, and we're doing the best job we can with what knowledge we've got, and they don't file the next year, then we obviously had a forced assessment that was too low on them. So this gives us some guidelines and some information that we can go back that's been tested and say, all right, well, this is what you should have, and this is what we're going to put the forced assessment based on. At that point, we're pretty accurate with it. We're confident that with the numbers that we have, if they decide to appeal it or challenge it, we've got something to take to the administrative judge and say, this is our evidence and this is what we have.
Gentlemen, we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
This is not the area that I'm associated with, so I feel that I can vote on it. And I vote yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you very much.
One thing I wanted to mention, that was not new money, that's money within his budget, so
Right.
in case people were wondering.
Mr. Solandi from Correctional Work Center. Good evening.
We are requesting to move $2,278 from our line 418 to 335, the maintenance repair building. We are installing some electrical outlets in the inmate housing areas, and it's going to cost us approximately that amount.
Move to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Jernigan, seconded by Commissioner Schaefer. Discussion or questions for Mr. Salandy?
You may have mentioned this in public safety, and I didn't recall it, but I remember you said there was something with substandard, or are you using that area with more electronics in that particular area, or what's the story on
Yes,
using that?
we needed it for two purposes. One is the inmates have the GPS bracelets on, so they can use that to actually plug into the bracelets to keep them charged up. And the other one is they have the pod kiosk, which will allow them to order commissary, do inmate requests, medical on that machine. So that will be the power source for that machine. The outlets.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Thank you. From Building Codes, Mr. Jones. Good evening.
Madam Chairman, Commissioners,
Your request, please.
we have a request tonight for gasoline for the building code inspections. We're taking miscellaneous gasoline, $58,900, $6,000 from that, and putting it into building codes, $54,510. That will take care of us the rest of the year.
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Sir.
Commissioner Sandlin, seconded by Commissioner Jernigan.
Now, is this needed because of the increase in gasoline, or is that because we've got so much more building going on that you're having to run around more?
Three things. We knew we were going to have to ask more because we didn't put enough in the budget last year, and we knew that. So we'll see how it's come out. Also, we've had increased inspections, and what was the other one?
Increase.
Gasoline.
The gas increase.
The cost of gasoline, yes.
You got two out of three.
Well, we keep pulling, we'll get them all.
There you go.
Thank you.
We do have a motion in a second. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yeah.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, the next budget amendment is restricted for capital projects. Mrs. Nolan?
We received a refund of $10,723 from Motorola for some equipment that was returned. The funding for the project came from the development tax, so we're just asking that this refund go back to the development tax.
Motion approved.
Second.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Call the roll, please.
Anytime we get money back.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Mr. Farley from Fire and Rescue. Good evening, Mr. Farley. Your request, please.
You gotta have three reasons now, Larry.
Well, one thing, our call volume's up 50% this year over last year. So I'm asking.
It's bad.
I'm asking for a transfer of out of the miscellaneous gasoline fund and diesel to my gasoline and diesel fund. Requesting $12,000 for diesel and $3,200 for gasoline.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner P, seconded by Commissioner Sandlin or Jernigan. Okay. Any further discussions or questions for Mr. Farley?
What's the balance still left in there after these?
Right there, just look at that. 60,
That is correct then?
66.8.
Okay.
What was that other one?
66.8.
Yeah, both of those are out of that.
So, this will last you the rest of the year. Is this the first time you've come? I didn't think. Okay. Make me feel better after getting older. My memory's still there.
But this also includes the 5 rescue trucks that we
Okay.
run for Amble, Kittrell, and Walter Hill. We're paying their fuel for their rescue trucks.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yeah.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. And you might want to just sit here for just a few minutes. We have a miscellaneous operating transfer which deals with the Elam Road Fire Hall. Mrs. Nolan?
This is a request to transfer $178,300 from judgments to transfer to other funds. Judgments is the line item where we transfer money out to pay claims, property and casualty claims. And so instead of running that route, we're requesting to move the money into the capital projects fund to account for the rebuild.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner P, seconded by Commissioner Jordan. Any further discussion?
So we are doing a rebuild.
Yes.
And we don't think we'll need as much as we'd originally budgeted for judgments?
I did look at that, because that's one that usually we have to come at the end of the year and boost it up. And I did analyze that, and today it looks like, we're okay. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to come back in June, but today I say we're fine.
I went out and looked at the building, and I've got some experience in buildings and things, and I don't see any reason to knock that building down. It's very fixable in my opinion.
You think about all the block, correct? Places, all the way around it good?
I went all the way around it. Yeah, I believe it's very fixable. If it was in my possession, I wouldn't dream of knocking it down.
We're going to fill all the cores of that block in the whole entire building with concrete, and we're going to put rebar down in the block structure as well.
You'll have to.
Well, I wouldn't have saw it, there's a couple of guys out there, and I don't see any problem with it, rebuilding it. It's going to be, I think, good, more than good enough.
Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
No.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
No.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Varley. From the Sheriff's Department and Jail. Good evening.
Good evening.
Chief Deputy Nelson, Russell, are you by yourself?
Yeah, we got one under the weather tonight, so
Okay.
you might call in.
Okay, you have some budget amendments. In fact, I think we can take these all as, I think we can go as one vote if you'll, if you have them in the same order we have them, starting with your donations.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so first one tonight, I've got donation contributions, $2,400, and we're going to put that into our other contracts. 54,110,399, $2,390. There he is. So the sheriff is here. And we're going to put this.
I heard music in the background. So you had toots or something?
Yeah, hopefully we can hear you now. Can you hear me now? And then we're going to put some donations came in for the SCAN program, and so we're going to put those monies into that program as well. We have some other donations that came in for the Mounted Patrol, which is number 2. We're going to put that into his fund so he can use those for his horses. The third item is sale of things for the Memorial Garden and the Explorers and Vegetable Garden, and we're going to put those broken down into those 2 line items, 1536 and 428, into the separate budgets that those charities use out of those line items. The next one is the sale and recycle of materials, and we've sold some materials. We're going to put that back into the maintenance line item, and then into our we're trying to build up the vegetable garden budget for this year because the vegetable garden is fixing to get started, and so we're going to put the rest of those funds into there. And then, do you want to go on to the next ones that we did today?
Different fund?
You can go to the.
No, this is
the
still
overtime.
This is
You go
the
ahead and
same
go to the
fund.
overtime? Okay. All right. And then we have 15,000 is coming out of the
Let's
sheriff.
see, overtime to
2,500.
the sex offender registry.
Let me do that one first.
That one
Okay,
is the
I'm
next
sorry.
one,
I apologize. I got them out of order here.
That's okay.
Okay, and then 2,500 is going to come out of the sheriff's office overtime budget, and we're going to put that in the sex offender registry budget, and then the related benefits to go along with that. And then we do the next overtime.
And then your detention, overtime, and benefits.
Okay, and then we're going to pull another 15,000 out of the detention overtime budget. I mean the sheriff's overtime budget, and move that into the detention overtime budget, along with the related benefits that go along with that. And
you should have another one on for the maintenance of building.
Yeah, I've got one more, which is for the 54,210,399 is the other services, and we're going to move that as usual into my repair and maintenance on the building. So we're still remodeling pods up there, so I need some more money in that line item.
Did you say 54? It's on 62.
That's his line item number.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, those are his budget amendments.
Make a motion to approve.
Commissioner P., seconded by Commissioner Jernigan.
We will be making note of these overtime transfers where you've got too much, Sheriff. And so during the budget time process, we'll make a note on that and decrease that. So just be aware. Can you hear me?
I wish it was that we had a little extra. We've done some rescheduling. What's caused this is that the sheriff moved the medical transports out of the detention side. I mean, out of the patrol side, moved to the detention side. And so I think that's where these funds have kind of come up and have helped us out a little bit. We've been doing some rescheduling, but now the detention guys are out, so we're having to move some money back over to kind of help out. But those are lower dollar hours to do that with. I didn't think I was going to work. The Wi-Fi here is too slow.
Yeah. Gentlemen, any further discussion on these budget amendments?
That or he's talking trash.
I'm trying.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Here.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Mr. Russell, the Drug Control Fund budget amendment?
Yes, ma'am. We had asset forfeiture funds of $9,495.
The K-9. The drug, yeah.
This is a
You have a revenue of
Yes,
$414.
Yes. One of those days we've been doing budget review all day long.
Can we do it for you?
No, I got it. So we had contributions and gifts that came in, $414, and we needed to move that into the 54,150 401 animal food and supplies for the K-9 division to be able to use to feed the dogs.
So moved.
Commissioner Jordan.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Sandlin. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Mr. Russell, the Special Purpose Fund
Yes.
budget amendment, the DEA
I always
fund.
jump to that one for some
Yeah,
reason.
the DEA
Okay.
fund.
So we have asset forfeiture funds of $9,495.78, and we'd like to put that into our 319 line item, confidential line item on that fund.
So moved.
Commissioner Sandlin, thank you. Commissioner Schaefer, a second. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Russell.
That's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sheriff Arnold.
Yeah, I think he's already signed off.
Gentlemen, from the Solid Waste Sanitation Fund budget amendment, Mrs. Nolan.
This is a request to provide funding to purchase the Las Casas Convenience Center. There were funds in the current budget that we think that we can use under the site development. So we are recommending using $92,000 from that line plus $131,000 from the assigned for public health or their fund balance to come up with the $223,000.
What's the sign for public health?
It's an accounting term. We say
It's a solid
unassigned.
waste fund.
It's under the solid waste
It's
fund.
assigned for
Oh, okay.
solid waste.
Is this another way of saying that these funds are restricted? You have
To
to have-
solid waste.
To solid
It's
waste,
been assigned
restricted
to solid waste.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Jordan, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner P. Any further discussion?
Madam Chairman, I'm gonna follow this thing all the way through. I'm not gonna be voting for it, and it's strictly because of the price itself. Too expensive.
Any further discussion?
If we weren't to spend this money on this property, do you have another item that you would spend it on in this, from this account in mind?
Another location?
Well, just, no, I don't mean another location. I just mean, when we talk about the amount of money is restricted to this account or assigned to this account. Do you have anything else that would be a competing expenditure that you're looking for money to fund out of this account?
Well, there's always the need. I mean, we're going to have in next year's budget at least one truck recommended, so we could buy 2 trucks. I mean, so that kind of thing, we'll just have to balance the needs for those things as we go forward.
Ambulances fall under the same category there as this for public health.
But that's
separate.
in 118,
They would be
that's a
separate
separate
from
fund.
this. This is just solid
I was
waste.
looking for an example for me,
Yeah.
so that's.
So,
This $3 million that's in this account, though, is from tipping fees and whatever.
Over the years.
Over the years.
It's that fund's fund balance.
Yeah, and so, Commissioner, I mean, it's for helping out on the landfill part.
It's
Any
for
kind
all
of
the solid waste
Any kind of
functions.
issues that we have, repairing, fixing, maintaining, well, we have a maintenance on that too, so it's, or is this part of that?
I'm sorry, what?
Maintenance and
Ma-
repair.
Well, I mean,
Not
it's-
on vehicles, so I'm talking about the landfills.
Well, it's everything. It's
Anything.
post
This
can
closure,
still come, okay.
landfill, convenience center, I mean,
landfill,
all
of this
those.
together.
Yeah.
All in one fund.
Yeah.
What recyclable materials that we sell, does it go into the solid
Yes.
waste fund?
Yes.
Yes.
Any
There's-
further discussion relative to this motion?
Thank you.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
No.
Commissioner Schaefer,
I voted no before on it, so I got to do it again. No.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Motion carries. Okay, gentlemen, we have 2 recommendations from the Health and Education Committee, items 11 and 12 on our agenda. The first recommendation is to provide funding for the design of an addition to Smyrna Primary School. Commissioner Jeff Phillips moved to amend an original motion, seconded by Commissioner Cook, to fund the design of the project with the intention of funding the entire project. And this passed unanimously. And then there was another motion to fund the Blackman Middle Annex project and to forward that to this committee.
Whenever they're ready.
If we could right now, knowing that we have both of those coming from the Health and Ed, if we could focus for just a few minutes. I know they're going to end up being interrelated when we start talking about money, but let's focus just for a few minutes on funding the design of an addition to the Smyrna Primary School. And Director Odom and Mr. Sandvig, would you join us for our discussion?
Madam Chairman, what was the vote on the Blackman side?
The Blackman vote, there was 1 no. Commissioner Turner voted no.
From that,
On the construction. It was unanimous support for the design phase,
on the
I believe.
design for Smyrna Middle, it was a unanimous roll call vote. But then on the Blackman Middle, there was a 1 no vote.
Being on Health and Ed, we realized we had time to do the design, and then it's more farther in the budget process to actually do the construction on the Smyrna addition. But on the Blackman, there's not time. It needs to go ahead and be approved, and they need to start getting underway. So that's why we had the luxury of doing it a piece at a time on the one project, but not on the other.
And I'll ask Mrs. Nolan to try to keep us organized, even though I know both of these projects are going to be intertwined somewhat. Shall we start with the funding of the design of the Smyrna primary?
Actually, I'm just going to repeat what you just said, that you approved the design of the Smyrna and then approved the construction and everything for the
annex.
And we were initially talking about some design money. And of course, one of them, they may want to touch on the cost of it, but I'll just say we don't have the money laying around for that, but we do for the whole project. But I do believe, as far as some initial design money, that there may be some funding within Fund 189 that we could use until we actually have go wherever to get the money for the Blackman project. At the end of February, there's $155,000 left in the Eagleville addition project, and there may be some funds. And I didn't come up with this on my own. We have had conversations, but it just hasn't gone to their board yet. But there may be some monies available in Stewart's Creek. So, in your discussions, I would recommend that we would at least, when you talk about the design money, that we initially use funding within Fund 189 to start funding some advanced funding there for these two unused projects, monies in these two projects.
Was that money that was left over from Eagle?
Yes.
And we should have some from Stewart's Creek High.
But they may want to talk about the whole projects, and then afterwards, what I did for Health and Ed was to kind of talk about the debt service fund and what that's going to look like after we did those two refundings. So you might want to have all the discussion before you make motions.
Well, yeah, I just want to see the whole picture. So what are we looking at is in the design phase for Smyrna Primary, and then what are we looking at? And I probably hadn't flipped over enough.
Under the second tab, number 2, their plan. You can find
one of
it.
one page,
The
yellow and
second
blue.
Yellow and blue,
Yes.
yes. Under the design, Blackman Middle Annex is $309,000, and the Smyrna Primary Edition is $105,000. But the total cost for the Blackman Annex is estimated at $7.4 million, and the Smyrna Primary Edition is $2.5 million.
We had pretty lengthy presentation, 2 meetings in a row actually at Health and Ed about growth in the county. We're growing 1,000 students, I believe, this year.
Yeah.
It's ramping up, probably gonna be more next year. This is just pushing this new school down the road to some extent.
Yeah.
One thing I like about additions, while you hate to get a mega school, but you don't have so much of the operating cost of an addition because you've already got your core in place and stuff. So you're basically just hiring a few more teachers, maybe an additional administrator, but we're fixing to see that again this summer when we open Stewart's Creek. Startup cost is unbelievable on a new school, and we're avoiding that by doing additions and pushing a new school off a little bit farther, in my opinion.
What percent? You said 1,000 new students. What percentage is that? Is that 2 or less than 2?
2.6.
About
2.6. That's still a lot less than what we were seeing
Just
6 or
taking
7
it
years ago. So
still taking it of a larger number. That's what they're
right.
asking.
Well, you start with it. Yeah. Well, one other quick question: how are we looking on rezoning to fully utilize some of these schools? I've heard that there were a couple of schools that were underutilized. Have we taken care of that, or are we working on it? Or
They are, the Board of Health the other night, and you were talking about maybe Blackman Elementary and some of that area, because they had a little over 1,100 students. After the public hearings, and they talked about that some, they were waiting to see what Musburg has done, and Musburg has now purchased property and says that should within a year have another school there. I think that will alleviate a lot of that. So the board, the board listens to the constituents just like you do. And that the problem sometimes, if we go ahead and zone them now, knowing that Musburg is going to build it, you're going to move those students possibly 3 years in a row. where they are now, next year and back to next. And that's not the best thing to do for children, nor other family members. So they'll be utilized. We may still have to put some in some of the schools to do that, but we may actually put another portable or so there to try to handle back one more year till that school comes in place. You see the major rezoning for next year, of course, is Stewart's Creek High School. That's the biggest rezoning of all. The board again allowed them, again listening to parents. Most time when high school students start, they really bond athletically and with their peers and that sort of thing. So the board did decide to grandfather, and I think they have, as long as I can remember, basically rising juniors and seniors, and did some siblings. My guess is we'll probably start Stewart's Creek High somewhere in the 1,300 to 1,400 range. We actually started Blackman High and Siegel High, both of those in 1,400 range. Not unusual at all, but as that grandfathering works its way out, within a year or two, you'll see that cancel out into balance much more quickly after that. I provide you with another sheet in there for your reference you can look at, but it was really kind of interesting. This last year, and I really cannot answer this, we grew by 470 students, over 1,000. 470 of those were in the 4 high school grades. Now, that's really highly unusual. You see, we can do some projections, you see the numbers, but Rutherford County Schools are beginning to pick up students in private schools and some other areas too. When you become an exemplary system, you see some things happening. So it's a good thing we have Stewart's Creek coming on. I think we were wise. You as a commission, the board, looking for that. And Mr. Schaefer, I heard this week of the 7th apartment complex in Smyrna. You know, so we're trying to look ahead and do that. You ask us to think out of the box. We're trying to think out of the box with some of these additions that have lower initial costs. But in the 5-year plan, which I think you have a copy of, you're probably going to be looking at another elementary, middle, and possibly high school if this growth continues. So on Nashville News last night, there was one realtor made an interesting statement. This kind of made me pause. It says we're probably up 20% over the year. Just for January and February, you're seeing close to 400 closings in just the first couple of months of this year. So, you know, we'll see on that, but it looks like that growth is coming back.
I guess the high school growth, though, in a couple of years will graduate out of the system, so maybe it's a little shorter term growth than some of it.
It should be, and it's really interesting. Our planner can kind of look at that, and you see those little bumps come along like that, and it's just bursts in certain years and all, and you know, this was the time that high school would grow some. But we are picking up people, too. That's the other piece back into our system.
Anytime we do additions, we always have the issues of traffic and issues there. Of course, this design phase is going to, that's part of it. So we've got enough room there within the design or within our property, existing property, to actually move safely, parents in and out, and children in and out.
In the Stewart's Creek, some of you asked about that earlier. We staggered their times 30 minutes apart, 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30, elementary, middle, and high. Typically, we can load and empty within that particular period of time, so in the morning and afternoon we'll have that staggered time. We do the same thing in the Blackman area. You know, that's getting a middle school larger than we typically like. It's being done in Wilson County and some others. You see some of the same thing, but the design of that creates basically a 6th grade academy concept. And so if you remember some of the drawings for that, you have the classroom additions, a play area on the end of it, even expanded a little bit the seating area for the cafeteria. Even though you didn't have to do your court, you know, we can still handle that. So basically, unless they're going to the library or something like that, most of the 6th grade will actually spend on that particular wing in addition. So it allows you to manage in a better manner a school of that size at a lower per pupil cost.
I have a couple of questions about elementary, if I may. How many classrooms are we using right now for pre-K? Do you have any idea off the top of your head?
I hate to answer that right off because that's funded separately. We don't. When we say our 39,000 and something, we don't even include that in the number.
No, but it's used in our classrooms.
There is some of that. gosh, is it 20 or something?
22 came to my mind, but that.
I want to say somewhere in that range.
Okay.
I didn't
Now,
know
are
the
they
number.
spread out throughout the county?
They are.
Okay.
And remember, they are, the original governor's preschool were designed for low income.
Mhm.
Basically, so entry into that basically are low income. So it would be spread primarily in the areas where you have the highest poverty. Or there was space. I would put them where we had space.
But, well, why I'm asking is I'm seeing 3 elementary schools here to get additions on them. And then I see a new elementary school coming up in that area, 16 to be built, I guess, is what I'm saying.
We're looking now, but it's hard for us to project beyond
Yeah.
2 years, to be honest
Okay.
with you. We got your 5-year. I get really uncomfortable beyond about
Yeah.
2 years with Rutherford
Okay.
County because
Probably half of those are special ed preschools, which you are mandated to do.
Okay. Well, but the other reason why I'm asking is on just in the pre-K of a standard student is the verdict's still out on whether, well, it helps maybe first grade, second grade, but you know, when it gets to third grade, there's big questions as to whether it really helps or not. So, I mean, that's something y'all keep an eye on, because if I'm still around here, I'll be keeping an eye on it when you come.
your area is one on line 9 of one of your sheets in there where you have that 5-year plan. When you look at yours, because we build them typically elementary from 800, sometimes you can get 1,000 if you pack it. But you saw Rock Springs at 820, Cedar Grove at 933, Stewart's Creek at 810, Stewartsboro at 906. And so those 4 schools got 3469. So one of the issues that we have in Rutherford County Schools, we do not have reserve capacity. And if I might explain that to you, you have a 20-to-1 ratio in K through 3. That's what the state allows, actually 20.49 if you want to be technical about it. Once upon a time, we were able to have, 17.8, 18.2 or something like that. So what happens when you're approaching 19 plus or so in your numbers per classroom, it's not when 20 more students come in. 2 or 3 students may come in, and then that ratio passes 20.49. So teachers are about $60,000, basically, roughly when you do that. So without reserve capacity, we wind up coming back to you probably more often. And I don't know whether we'll ever have reserve capacity if we continue to grow or not.
And that is something that has changed since I came here after the BEP class size maxes were established. We definitely had some capacity at the elementary level, not a lot, but it made it much easier to absorb bits of growth. And it's gone now. We've let it out over the years to cover number.
Still 149 boarders, obviously.
What other things are we facing in that Smyrna primary when the building was built in '63?
There's addition. Mr. Clardy's wife was ill tonight. He had to leave and go home. He couldn't come. He had some of the drawings on. But the library, there's some replacement there. And you probably know something about the building where they tried their cafeteria where they ate, actually moved that stage, extends that out. There's 6 classrooms addition onto that. So we really, in this case, had to deal with the core. And so when you change your core, that certainly ups your costs up. So that's basically what we're looking at. So it was the library, eating area, the food preparation area, 6 classroom additions. We added the gym a few years ago now.
Commissioner Baum, did you have something?
I don't know that I have a question. I guess I'm anxious for the debt service projections.
Well, I was going to say, gentlemen, I want you to get as much information as you need from Director Odom or from Mr. Sandvig. And then I was going to ask our finance director to see how this impacts our debt service. Do we need to have some more information from Director Odom?
Well, yeah, I'd like one more question on the Blackman. I've heard it's going to be a 2-story addition. So is it going to be like an annex, a separate building?
It is.
Okay.
You know the side where you come out used to be the wrestling area? You remember that, the metal bit kind of that?
It'd be on
It
the
comes
fortress
out
side. Right.
It comes out on that side, so your addition extends out from your other building, there's a little walkway. On that same side also would be that eating area. It's pretty much a self-contained area.
Okay. So what kind of roof is it gonna have, a metal roof on it?
That's our, do you remember, I think it is.
I think that's the plan.
I think
And
that's the
what
plan.
about its heating and cooling? Will it be geothermal, or will it,
I don't know that we'll go geothermal.
I don't think we did there on this case to add. It's really expensive when you add it on. Certainly
Yeah.
to our new construction, it's advantageous. But
Okay.
I'm not sure here.
For that size addition.
it's not, okay.
That's,
Okay, I'll start with what their requests are, and you see, when I tried to mirror this to what the school board requested, except for the elementary school, where I pushed it out to fall of 18, only because the city has been talking about so much about their school, so that would be the difference between my schedule and what Jeff has on theirs. Whenever we, and as you said, that when you do the elementaries or additions, it's about a year that you'll need funding. You know, if they want to open it in fall of 14, we'll be borrowing in a year previous to that. Just so you'll see that I'm talking about. When we borrow for elementary schools and middle schools, because of the 6th grade, we have a sharing issue. So I've tried to, that's what you're seeing in yellow. So looking at the elementary school, the $2.5 million, we would have to borrow another $411,000 to share with the city of Murfreesboro. On the middle school, because you're only sharing on one of the grades, it's $388,000. That's why that difference. So I'm looking at this, and you kind of see about where I think that we would need to borrow. So some point for those two projects, if you were doing both projects, you'd need about $10.7 million. But I don't want you to forget that we do have some things in the general fund. So I've thrown some down here. Some we've not even talked about, but some we have. So I just don't want y'all forget about some general projects that we need. In estimating, for just right now, school, I know there's some things that you haven't talked about, but just.
I noticed that.
This is kind of where I keep up with things that
Had a
I
big number on
hear.
it too, yeah.
This is our 5-year plan.
Yeah.
Oh.
Our 5-year plan. Okay.
I don't know if I like that.
But that doesn't throw the sheriffs in, does it?
No, no.
Okay.
Okay, so if we just want to focus just on the schools, I just don't want you to forget that there will always be general
Other
projects
stuff,
need.
uh-huh.
Okay, so before we talk a whole lot, let's talk about revenue and the value of a penny. Whenever we do these projects, do I need to make that a little bigger so y'all see that? Do a little bigger. Whoa, that's too big, isn't it?
That's bigger.
Okay, how about, try 120. Does it say 120?
100.
Right back where we started. That looks good.
Can y'all see that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Well, usually, when you see, what we estimate the assessment value of the penny will be, we'll say 2, 3, 4%. This is the history, and let me move it on over. There's more of it. Starting in 98, 99, our penny value was $222,000. So you can see how it's gone up, and how much of the value of the penny went up each year. And this, I've just shown how many pennies that we were putting into the debt service fund at those years. Okay, so you see, we have some nice healthy increases in assessment value until we get to this year. A 0.6% increase that we had in 11-12. We've projected a 0.9% increase in this year. That's what I was telling you we get a little concerned about because of, end of last February we're not where we were in the year before. But just going with the budget numbers, we're showing a 0.9, and then the numbers preliminary numbers that the assessor has given me is only showing 0.5% next year. So it's not a whole lot of growth. And as I said, I don't believe in any of the projections that I have done in the past doing these projections into the future that I ever used 0.5% or 0.5% growth. But anyway, all that to say, it's just some estimates on what I have projected revenues. Again, it's the pennies is the largest amount of money that comes in here. You can look at this. It's just $500,000 that I put there. I can change that to something else. But just seeing, I think I've got a 1.5% growth. Know that might, if we have a lot of building, that's going to do even better. But just for discussion purposes, just want you to know where my assumptions are. A 1% increase in the interest earnings. Rental is solid. This is the monies that we get from USDA that's renting the ag department, and that revenue is going in here. Yeah, I hope it's solid. And then 1% growth on all the other revenues. These purple lines are when there's reappraisal, and usually before, whenever you saw the penny, here's a reappraisal, here's a reappraisal, here's another one. So if I put that we were going to grow 12-10% in that year, that would assume that you would let us keep the same amount of pennies in there, even though the assessments might have gone up. Just for discussion's sake, I've put a 3% growth in that 2 years out, not next year, but the year before. So just know where my revenues are estimated.
Is that a reappraisal year?
Yes, the purples are reappraisal years. So just know that you got that in the back of your mind. So let's go to, this is our requirements, our debt service requirements. We have other expenditures in the fund. One of the big ones is the trustees commission on the revenue coming in there that we have to pay. We have a note that's coming due in next fiscal year, $9.6 million. And we, as a capital outlay, note that for this sake that we will probably more than likely next fiscal year take that out for long term. It was only a 3-year note. So that's what I've estimated as a payment over the next 20 years at 4.5. Now, here is the news from our refinancings. We achieved savings, which is why we would do the refunding of those 2 bonds. This is the taxable issue. We achieved a $3.7 million savings, and the other one was the taxable refund that produced $1.5 million. So between those two, we've got 5.3 million savings. But you can see we structured it in these 3 years to achieve us some savings. You look over here and see our requirements; they start dropping off, but they were kind of heavy here, so we put the savings to try to smooth that out and give you some relief close by. Okay, revenue I talked about. This year we are estimating that our revenues will be under appropriations by $2.5 million. Next year, with these savings, that I would say that we're going to be short almost 1.2 million next year. We'd be short 340 in the following year. But notice we're getting ready to talk about fund balance. That we say, how much of this can we use? This is what we're estimating our fund balance to be at the beginning of this year, and how it's going to, with our current debt and our current savings, how is our debt service going to, the fund balance going to look? Assuming that we have to have 65% of the fund balance, 65% of our expenses, our appropriations in fund balance. This is saying, like in this current year, we really need to have 27, but we've got 30. Well, we have 3 million above our 65% requirement. Next year, under this scenario, looks like we would have 2.6 million excess. So you follow down. Okay, so there's my value of a penny. So I come back over here. this 2.6 million coming over here, I have that excess. This amount on top, the 67, is how much, 67,000 is how much it would take in debt service to pay $1 million of debt. If you bought $1 million of 20 years, you need $67,000 per year to pay that back over 20 years. 3.5, you need 70.
And maybe this is a good time to say, it looks like these two projects combined are about 10 million. So over 20 years, well, a portion of that's from the city of Murfreesboro, so I think.
Well, that's what we gotta pay them.
Well,
We have to borrow the money to pay them.
we have to borrow money to pay
that's
them.
not.
Yeah, not from them, that's to
We don't get
them.
what's us.
Don't worry.
What we need
We've asked them to
plus
help.
more that we give to
Forgive
them.
it before.
Okay.
You politely thanked us, but
Right.
no thanks.
So there's a little dip in our payout, the way it is. So I just want to show you this kind of a negative here. So the way I was looking at it, between the next 2 years, what could we do? And it looks like 32 million you could do at 3% if you're borrowing at 30 million at 3.5, 30 million. So then I go back and all this, these are the things, now are the things that you can play with, and you say, all right, Lisa, you're just too aggressive on that 3% that year. What if it's only 2? What does it look like then? Well, then I better only do 26 at 3%. Better only do 25 million at 3.5. 24 at 4.
And those are the total amounts you could borrow.
Could borrow within the next 2 years. Without any additional revenue. So I guess I wanted to leave you where we think we could do the 10. But that's not all you have coming to you, as you can see on the schedule of projects. You've got 10, 11, 20, 29 and a half, 58 there.
We've got the
Don't forget
9.6 to refinance.
And then we've got, yeah, well, and with
Are you reflecting that
refinance-
already in?
It's already.
It's already there. When you saw it and I reduced it down, that's assuming
It's assuming it's already
we
in
do
there.
that. Yeah. So if you were going to do this project, what I would foresee that 9.6 million comes due either January or April of next year. So until we got there before the school board let a contract for us at the Blackman Annex, then we would probably come to you and ask to approve an internal note from the debt service fund, just like we did before, that 15 million that looked kind of screwy, that we would borrow from that fund until we went to the market, in time going to the market at the same time when this 9.6 million is due it at one time. That would be my plan.
I'm convinced we need these two school projects. One of my concerns about the timing of this is it seems like when we consider a capital project one at a time like this, then it almost precludes discussion on other capital projects. And we've had other capital projects proposed to us. I'm not saying these other capital projects are necessarily higher priorities, but just as an example, this judicial building, we have an estimate from Ms. Nolan on how much we could borrow and still make the payments from our debt service account. But in considering these two school projects tonight, but not really discussing the judicial building or other capital projects, it almost necessarily precludes those projects. Now again, it may be the case that these school projects are our top priority, and we don't really need to talk about other projects because these are the first things we want to fund. But if that's not the case, it seems like one of the limitations of considering these projects just sort of in the order that they happen to come up is, if you decide tonight you want to fund this, then you're limiting your ability to fund other projects. Should we have, as a committee, some kind of discussion as to what our top priority is? And I'm not saying it's not schools, but another big competing priority is this judicial building. It came in front of this committee several months ago. We didn't vote to fund it at that time. But it kind of looks to me like, at a minimum, if we decide to fund these schools, it precludes that project, at least with funding out of this particular account.
Well, I don't know, Ms. Nolan has got some projections on that. It appears, and I may be speaking out of turn here, that these two small pieces and these two schools here, we probably can do this and still have the ability to move forward with the judicial building, depending on what happens to their elementary school, their high school, and another middle school down the road. If all the timing were to play out like they've sort of got it in their schedule, we can almost fit this in potentially.
And I guess I'm wondering, is that because we would fit this in about 1 year before the timing of the judicial building project? I mean, I'm trying to look. I can't see the bottom of the spreadsheet right now, but I think the judicial building was.
Just got some things that y'all hadn't talked about.
You may want to show us the bottom.
She's got some things down there, just exactly what you're talking about. She has that sort of structured in here as to when it might occur and what that would actually do to the whole picture as well. So she already has pre-planned that a little bit. That parking garage is there, you see, that would be what would be supporting the judicial building.
What's the parking garage? Yeah.
Well, we're going to have a parking garage. If we're going to build a judicial building, there's no parking down there.
Oh, I'm thinking over here parking garage. No, that's not what
No,
we're talking about. We're talking about a new
We're talking
parking.
about judicial building support garage.
Yeah.
It's as long as it stays right up there in the city, because there's nothing.
Most people would rather support classrooms and courtrooms.
Right.
But the courtroom, I mean, you guys have been working on that for, I don't know how many years, 10 or more. But see out there on the Justice Center, that's in those staggered out, and a couple years out,
We were trying to
the
smooth
30 million
it
and the
out.
20 million, and that would be all coupled in
And with that on up above, right?
Of course, if you don't need the middle school and you don't need the high school, that opens up, see if you take all.
I was going to ask not to muddy the water any, but how about the opening of Stewart's Creek? I mean, we were talking about ending fund balance there being there to a point to where we're not dipping in anywhere else, or are we still looking at y'all being able to open that without any adjustments?
That was, I'd say
Oh,
that.
don't look that way. Look this way.
No,
What
I'm looking this way. Lisa and I were in a meeting today.
Yeah.
Insurance.
Yeah, as an insurance meeting, it was not pretty.
Yeah.
But too, you got to remember what we did this fiscal year is adopt a budget for schools that's $9 million out of tilt.
Let me back up. Yes or no? Are we? Do
I
you
am
have?
reasonably confident that we will have 9 to 9.5 million in fund balance that can be used toward next year's operating budget.
Is that in excess of the 3% minimum requirement?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
What were we looking at total on
That's a sales tax.
on opening that school?
The sales tax is a big reason why.
No, what was we
expenditure reimbursement.
Jeff, what was we talking about in opening the high school?
3.5, 4.5 million. And as we met with our board Monday night, and until we get the zone exemptions and the grandfathering worked out and can get in and see where we will be able to transfer teachers and what teachers we will need to transfer where. And that is our great unknown, or what is it today?
Because I think we were projecting 4.5 million is what we were honestly thinking that it was going to take.
Yeah.
And so y'all were working very diligently to set that aside and not play with that money. That was going to be.
We'll move teachers. I mean, you certainly have to have some duplication, but based upon the numbers in the count, you know, they were working with 600 to 700 zoning exemption requests and that sort of thing. That's why we had them file it early. And of course, it involves from Riverdale to Blackman, and then from Blackman and Smyrna and Laverne and all to Stewart's Creek. So we're working through that process. Maybe by the end of the week, or certainly next week, we should have that number. Because our plan is to start putting positions and teacher names and that sort of thing next week to begin that transfer.
Well, principal's he's been interviewing at Stewart's Creek.
So we shouldn't have a problem after all that.
But go back to your original question. He said there should be maybe as much as $9 million available to do at least, there's two big things. One, open a new school, plus pay all the additional costs of just reoccurring that's for the supporting set of schools and instruction we have right now. So anything that couples above $9 million, they won't have enough dollars to do it. They got enough to do the $4 to $4.5 million.
$5 million
$5 million
flexibility
for
right
additional.
there to make up the hole you just generated, and then your other line items that you're talking about before you get into regular budgetary stuff. So you're very workable. You scared me looking the other way and talking. I was like, whoa, I'm here now. So
utilities have been relatively stable.
Yeah.
This year, you know, not a terrible winter. Certainly, fuel adjustments for vehicles and buses. You'll see an amendment on that. You know, we've had to adjust it almost every month.
I was going to say, as long as we don't change the meter, we are.
Okay.
Of course, you grew 1,000 students.
Right.
Yeah. You get more state money also.
And more state money, but there's still $4,000 local money per student at least, or something like that. You know, so it's $4 million right there.
And 470 in high school. So I mean, that number is kind of shocking, just in high school.
I don't think that will happen again. Part of that is due to the magnet school phase-in. They did go through the senior, even though the senior class this year is less than 100. You'll see another 150 or so there.
I didn't think about that. I bet that's where
so
the
that's some of that.
is.
But it tells you that they're not coming just from our other schools. Or when I give you the total number, that wouldn't show. See, that would be just a transfer within. So.
We're looking at this debt service account in isolation, but in some ways it's not all that independent from the rest of the budget, just because we do have the ability to reallocate portions of our tax rate to other accounts. I'm going to say $11 million borrowed for 20 years at 3.5% is going to be $700,000 a year in debt service payments or more. And since you can reallocate a portion of the property tax rate to other accounts, that also means that these projects are indirectly competing against other projects that aren't even capital projects, like the SROs, or other expenditures that we're going to have to pay for, like increased health care costs, or even changes to our tax base. I guess one of my second concern is that we're going to be finding out a lot more information in just a month or two about what our expenses are going to be for these increased health care costs, as well as a little more information about what our actual revenues might be with some of these appraisal settlements. We also have these other competing proposals like the SRO, the $1.2 million there I just mentioned. It seems like if we waited on this for just another month or two, we would still have the option of supporting these projects, but we'd have a lot better sense of not only what competing capital projects were on the table and whether we wanted to fund them, but we would also have a better sense of whether $700,000 a year in debt service payments from this account could instead be used to pay for a portion of these health insurance premium increases, or the SRO plan, or several others that expenditures that we've had mentioned to us. We'll have that information in just a couple of months. I'm convinced that these two school projects are needed, and I think the committee ought to be excited that y'all are thinking outside of the box with extensions and annexes instead of brand new schools. So I don't want to do anything to discourage that at all. But I think committing to borrowing $10 or $11 million tonight precludes a lot of other things, whether it's other capital projects, like I've already just mentioned, or whether it's using money that would go for debt service here on other expenditures that are not even necessarily capital projects. Again, I think last year we reallocated a portion of our tax rate from debt service to general fund. Well, when that's possible, that means that this project is indirectly competing against several others like the SROs.
This is the exact conversation was had at Health and Ed, and exactly why it was only promoted to do the design of Smyrna Primary, because if you don't build it this year, it's got to be built. The design could sit on the shelf till next year. You know, because they do have the flexibility on that. But if you want the middle school to open in 2014, we don't have that luxury. Because if we had, that's exactly what would have come out of Health and Ed. We asked Mr. Clardy if he had the time for us to look at this until budget, my numbers were farther along. He said, not on the middle school project, not on the two-story addition out there and all. They need, that's exactly, we didn't send $10 million forward tonight. We spent 7.4 forward tonight. And then the couple of $100,000, whatever, design for the Smyrna primary, and that's, that would be there on the shelf. If it did get pushed back a year or two, it'd be designed, and that's not something that's going to expire.
I see that. It sounds like the trade-off is opening the schools a year earlier versus making the decisions.
If you don't open the schools, you're buying portables.
So you're still expending money.
You're still expending money for a bunch of trailers out there we're trying to get out of, because the classrooms have got to be generated from some form by a year from fall.
Doubles about
$80,000.
$80,000 for a trailer.
And get it all, so.
But the sentiment on health and ed was we would rather wait till the budget numbers were more solid. But it just wasn't a luxury that health and ed felt we had.
Again, the trade-off is getting the school opened a year earlier
Yeah.
and avoiding the portables versus making this decision and other decisions about big expenditures with a little bit more information and weighing one against the other and trying to prioritize.
Well, we're wanting to look at, we're wanting to look right now, basically tonight anyway, is that, I mean, I understand, but we've got to get design money on both, right?
Yeah. Definitely,
So, really, we could still do design money on both and have that ready and going and already in the pipeline, and then to look at the whole picture, like you said, because I do agree on that. I mean, we've got to look at the whole picture. You still can go ahead with the design phase and go ahead and get that ball going.
Mr. Clardy said he did not have time to wait till the budget was farther along to come back with the construction money. We'll be right back next month doing it, and won't have any more hard numbers. Exactly where we're going to be.
How long will the
we
design
couldn't delay it
actually
that
take?
amount of time.
Well, it's just a delay of about a month. I mean, we're in March.
That's what I'm talking about.
Don't we start this project in April?
Kenny, if I could give you just a little bit more numbers
Gentlemen.
on the middle. I mean, putting it off again, I'm thinking, I don't want to spend money on portables. I don't really want to do that. Laverne Middle School has 1,051, Rock Spring Middle has 999, Stewart's Creek Middle has 840, Oakland Middle has 1035, Siegel Middle has 1003. 800 to 1,000. So everything we're looking at is over. So what I'm telling you, there is no reserve. And what Mr. Jordan's telling you here, that you're very likely swapping out if you don't go ahead and get that building to be built there with some rooms. You're very likely to be spending some money on a portable situation. It's just not a good way to spend it.
Regardless of the numbers we have in a month, we've still got to build this.
See, I think we'll see close to, at least from what I was reading about the growth in the building, you're very likely to see that 519 last year is the lowest we've had in many years. We had one year a few years back, it was 1,800. I believe it was 2006. Y'all remember that year quite well. So it's just been our history.
3 years in a row thing.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. Our budget hearings are going to be in April and May, and I guess even a little bit in June, but at that point I think we'll have a really good idea of what the budget's going to look like. In June we'll just be approving it. Seems like when these construction projects are undertaken, a lot of times they get way off schedule, a couple of months behind schedule. How can Mr. Clardy be so sure that 1 or 2 months is the make or break point between opening and not opening for a school year? Seems like there'd be other variables, like even if we approve it right now, it sounds like a 1 or 2 month delay in the construction process would throw the whole thing off that way.
Typically what you want to do is be able to, during the warmer weather in the fall, break the ground and begin the construction. If you're not able to do that, then you're likely to see the delays that you're talking about. It's so much that if you can get it under roof and get your grading and all in place, then it changes the dynamics of completion time.
How long does it take when
You know,
you send it out for bids?
We say elementaries 12 to 14 months, middles again around 14 months, but we're not building all of the core. You know, I honestly think you're looking at 11, 12 months, I think, with that addition. I'm not Mr. Clardy, but just from historically looking at it.
How long does it take once you approval comes to go ahead to send it out and get the bids back and make a decision on
What's the required bid time?
Is it 30 days?
30 to 60 days pending.
And how long will it take us to actually get working drawings before we can even take a bid? I mean, we're 60,
And that's,
we're at least 60 to 90
I
days away from
think
having
because
those.
of being two-story, the middle school annex will take more design time.
It's gonna take 60 to 90 days to get that drawn before you can put it out for bids. So really, you've got 3 months before we can take bids, another month. So you're 3 to 4 months before you can actually have your bids in hand.
1st of June.
Two, we put that addition in, if I'm reading this right, then you're asking for the next middle school would come on board in 2016.
You know, we stack some out towards the end. I see right now probably the next one, if the elementary grows like it did, it may be that when we get out to the years 4 and 5, it could be that you have to do, because of what's happening in the elementary in the Smyrna area and in those apartment complexes, that could have to move back 1 or 2 years, and maybe the middle. This gives you a little bit of capacity in the middle, not a great amount, but it does give you a little bit in this area. The Blackman area is growing so quickly. Like the density, what hit us in Blackman is the density of what was approved. The apartments there changed the dynamics within the last 2 years. That's what happened in Blackman Elementary and Blackman Middle. It's not, it was the density of the growth.
Yeah, when you were mentioning the students at some of these schools, I didn't catch Christiana's or Buchanan or.
We have a little capacity.
Yes,
we have some capacity at Buchanan, and you know, we may have to look at the Oakland Middle, since that's running 1,000 with the Buchanan. We may have to look at that zoning again. You know, some Christiana has a little capacity, Rock Vale has a little capacity, but that doesn't help you a lot. From the heart, from the north to the Blackman area. That's what you run into. Or your transportation costs really go up considerably.
And one of the issues we also face as we compress the construction period, our bids go higher because they plan on using more overtime to get the project done.
They're still gonna put some weather in for themselves to cover themselves.
They've got to. And we have been very fortunate. We have been very tight on it, but we have been able to move into get our schools in time to be in before school started. Now that has been some central office staff going and help move furniture and everything else to get it in. Where okay, what are we going to do? But if we have a couple of hundred kids, we're going to have to put them somewhere.
Well, what's this annex gonna do? Is it gonna hold about 400, 300?
Probably somewhere right around 400 or so, or a little bit.
20,
Your sixth grade ratio is actually 1 to 25. It goes to 1 to 30 before you're 7 through 12. So you're 1 to 25. You have to build into that some of your specialty areas, special education, that sort of thing. So, I mean, you're in the 400 to 500 possible.
That tells you the growth out in there when the city's fixing to build another grammar school too. You're gonna be getting them kids too, so.
We need to be very thankful the city's building that school.
So, we're gonna go back then. Why are we looking at David Yorrie to expand it? You're saying that?
Basically, again, it was because of the number of portables and all there when we looked at that.
But it's gonna be that's in an area that can't grow.
Right, they've got 5 portables now.
And it's the same with Smyrna Primary. I mean, they're locked in. It's an older area that's, well, they're up the road on the old highway.
Again, one of the board's goals over the long term is to try to reduce that 149 portables. We're moving around like checkers right now.
And we have not had to buy any since we had to buy some when we had to postpone what became Laverne Lake Elementary, because when the construction prices went up, you approved 3, our funding wound up only covering 2. That's the last year we have had to buy any portables.
It appears the middle school will be inevitable, the need of it, just by looking at what we already have in all the existing. But you still, if you really didn't want to do a firm commitment, it'll be June the 1st or thereabouts before you can have plans ready to, maybe past that, to even put them out for bid. So you can make your decision about whether you fund it all now or fund that, and pretty sure on June the 1st, if they put this out for bid and get it 30 days later, you're going to have to fund it. But you don't have to make the decision actually today. But in all probability, it's 199% you're going to have to.
My understanding from the way the motion read is it is all packaged together.
It is the way that came from Health and Ed. You're
Mr.
exactly
Clardy
right.
was at Health and Ed, and he was strongly saying he needed.
You're going to have to make the decision because you're going to have that building open.
You got a motion on that yet?
We do
I
not.
make a motion, please.
Which?
Now, we have two recommendations from Health and Ed. The concept, or excuse me, not the concept, just literally to fund the design for Smyrna Middle or Smyrna Primary, and also to do the annex for Blackman Middle.
Right.
So you want to combine both of those?
Yep.
I'll second that.
Okay, we do have
We're
a
gonna
motion
have
from
to do
Commissioner
this. We
Jernigan
can
and a
kick this
second.
can down the road a month, but we're gonna be right back here doing this, regardless of how the numbers come in. We're gonna have to build this addition.
Well, I realize that, and y'all have convinced me there is a need here. I'm going to have to vote against this just because I feel like we face too much economic uncertainty and too many competing expenditures for capital projects and other recurring expenses. Right now, to fund this in good faith, I'd like to be in a position to be in favor of it and be able to fund it in just another month or two. Hopefully the budget projections are going to look better than our worst fears, but at
But
the
regardless
moment,
of the budget projections, when on the courthouse, I can see that. We're not sitting there with federally mandated rules to how many criminals in a courtroom or how many judges are in there, but on the classrooms, we are. And we don't want to start paying fines on not meeting our classroom side. We don't have a choice.
Oh,
But
so
we've got to build
classroom.
classrooms regardless.
It's $55,000 to $65,000 per class, not classroom, but per class in a high school. If you went from class to class, each one would earn a different fine.
And they intentionally set it so that when you did the math, it would cost you more
not to do it.
than.
I agree completely on a road
Have they
project,
ever
the parking
fined anybody
garage,
in the
judicial
state?
building, all that
Have
stuff.
they ever
We've got
fined
to have
anybody?
budget.
Because I don't know anybody that's challenged that is challenged or not done it.
A lot of the smaller counties, well, they don't grow as much.
Gentlemen, we do have a motion and a second. I want to make sure that I'm clear, Commissioner Jernigan. Your motion is to fund the design of the project for the Smyrna Primary and to fund the Blackman Middle Annex as recommended by the Health and Education Committee.
Now this is funding it and doing the design.
Funding the design and to for the primary, and to fund the Blackman Middle Annex project.
The 2.5 million.
That's 7.4.
No, it's
2.5 on Smyrna and 7.5.
Oh, I'm
It's only
sorry.
a couple $100,000 on Smyrna
Yeah.
this time.
On Smyrna, it's just
That's
the
why.
design
That's why I
piece.
specifically said as recommended by the Health and Ed Committee.
I'm gonna have to go ahead and get my 2 cents in, I guess. I'm gonna be with Commissioner Baum on this, or I'll be voting against it, and strictly because it's just the Health and Ed got it in January, and then they revisited in February, and then here it is to us in March. So somewhere either preparation should be made to the budget committee or whatever, I think, prior to this night on making this decision for this school. We think that it's going to have to be done, and I think we're in all agreement of that. Even Commissioner Bond and myself, and I don't know who else will vote against it, but it's just a point of the design phase here. We look at the big picture, get that funded, and then move on. I don't believe it's holding up the project. At least that's not my point, and I don't think it's Commissioner Bond either. But I don't want to put words in his mouth. It's moving forward, not backwards. But it's just a point of let's look at the big picture and budget here and see what we are facing as a whole and as a total. We are at early stages here, but good planning, good budgeting is what we're about, and I think that's what school board is about too. Is I know it is. We've worked together on too many projects. It's just all of it here together at once, then you're done. Excuse me, sir?
Like me, they done the good planning on it. What they're telling you they gotta have. If you don't, you're gonna be getting horrible.
They don't see the bottom of this screen here and the other things that we're looking
You ain't
at.
seeing the bottom either.
That's what I'm talking about. How can you vote on something that you don't know what else you're looking at? That's it in a nutshell. That's exactly my point.
Well, I asked Lisa to roll that up so I could look at these, a couple of them we hadn't seen, and I know where my priorities are, and that's with education and keeping from having to pay fines where we're overpopulated or have to the student pupil ratio is out of balance, and then too buying portables. So I don't have a problem with proceeding with these because I see that we're probably going to have to anyway, and hopefully we'll be able to work some of these other projects in. Like the airport improvement. I've heard that we may be in danger of losing our tower out there for federal funding. So, I don't know that that's something that would even be on the board. So,
Yeah.
And we're not going to know that probably till later in the year. I mean, there's some of these things up there that, we're aware of and have been for a long time. But, there's others that there are a lot of questions. And I understand Steve's point. But like I said, I know where my priorities are, and they're with education. So I don't have a problem voting for this.
When will, if this passes, when will it go to bond market?
Probably around January.
Gonna borrow within till then, so we can do all that at once.
Okay, wait till January.
There'll be some other stuff on it.
We've got 9.6 million we've got to
We've gotta take care
refinance,
of.
so we got to go to bond then, so we're trying to do all those expense at one time.
Okay, gentlemen, we do have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion relative to the motion?
Do we need to just put in there about the initial design money coming from the fund 189 for unused monies for the two, to initially pay for the design for the two projects of Smyrna and Blackman?
The unused money from, was it Eagle Bear? Was that it?
Is that part of your motion?
The
Say
unused, the
internal.
money from Eagleville and Stewart's Creek,
Stewart's Creek.
Those were the two that you mentioned earlier, right? Okay. Any other clarification? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
No.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
No.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Okay, motion carries. Is there anything else we need to do on this motion? Have we taken care of all the details? Mrs. Nolan, is
Yes,
that everything
yes,
you think
ma'am.
we have? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is our annual report of fixed assets, and we have 2 years of reporting, 2010, 2011, 2011, 2012. Mr. Brown, if you will join us. This is Mr. Robert Brown, our fixed assets coordinator, and we normally have had this beautiful book in years past, but we have it now here in front of us. Mrs. Nolan, as you can see, you can take a quick look through here, but Mrs. Nolan, will you just give us a quick review of the things that you know that we are traditionally most interested in?
Okay, well, let me get my notes up here. Yeah, this is what I want. This is a 2-year report. We had a transition of employees, and so that's why we missed a year. So, but the work was done, and so that's why you're getting a 2-year report instead of one. So, in 2010-11, 30 schools were reviewed in 24 county properties. In 11-12, we had 19 schools in 7 counties properties. So, if you go to page, because I know y'all don't. The numbers that are in here are what's in our audit. So I know that you already saw it when you looked at the audit. But the results are on page 13, the 10-11 results. And I'll let Robert speak to this when he shows a school that's a 99% complete as opposed to 100% complete, and then also what he means by missing assets.
Okay. We're the 99% complete. That means that it was 99% of the assets were found when we went out to inventory the school. Anything less than 98.5 will warrant that we go back to that same school the next year because they didn't do as well as they should have.
88.7.
And
you see the results of that, 2010, 2011, you're on page 13, and now you may go to page 14 and see the next year, the 2011, 2012.
okay.
And that's on those that they revisited, that were below the.
Well, on the 1011, it shows Buchanan
The ambulance
at
service.
88.7, but they're not on the next page.
New Jersey ambulance service.
Well, the reason those are not on there is because I took this over. It was my first year last year, so I have found all of the rules and know what we're supposed to go back and do.
We had a learning curve.
Okay, because you just said we're going to go back, but then that's from
typical,
here forward, I guess.
Right.
Because there's a couple with low numbers, and I remember from past experience, that doesn't necessarily mean, at least that's what I've been explained in the past, it didn't necessarily mean somebody's walking off with all their stuff. It's bookkeeping errors where they didn't necessarily take it out of inventory when something broke, they just pitched it or something like that.
Exactly.
And Mr. Brown, would it be good for us to go to page 16? Would that help with some of those numbers, help explain some of the numbers?
Yes, that will help explain some of the numbers. The 2010, 2011 missing assets. Missing assets are assets that we have searched for twice, 2 years in a row, and they weren't found the first year or the second year, and they become missing. If they were not found the first year, they're labeled as remaining assets, and then they're searched for the next year. So they go through 2 inventory cycles before they are declared missing. So these that are actually on page 16 for 2010, 2011, and on page 17 for 2011, 2012, those are assets that were never found in the last 2 times that they were inventoried. So there's basically, there's stuff that's like PCs and some digital cameras and certain smaller items. And some laser disc players, which nobody's had laser disc players in years and years, but they might have surplused it or got rid of it and never let us know to take it out of the database.
And at the risk of making some people upset because we're not ready, what I'm getting ready to say, kudos to Laverne
High School.
So I've intended to write you a note just to say the experiences at Laverne High School have been incredible.
Laverne High School and Stewart's Creek
Elementary. So you might want to get those people to do a class for the other ones.
Exactly. I've spoken to both of those. The STS at Stewart's Creek Elementary and the librarian at Laverne High, and they have agreed to help with training some of the other schools on how to be more effective when it comes to keeping up with items.
Well, another issue that we found in the past with schools is a lot of the stuff that goes missing is technologically obsolete, and we try to reinforce. If it's got a tag on it, you have to go through this process. I don't care how old it is.
And there is a process for the schools to go through and all the departments when you want to surplus your assets.
Madam Chairman, motion to approve the report.
Thank you, Commissioner Sandlin.
Appreciate your hard work.
And second from
I'll second that.
Commissioner P. Okay.
I do have a question for you, though. You've got some of the other county agencies besides schools. I don't see their assets listed.
They weren't missing.
They weren't missing.
They weren't classified as
They
missing,
were.
meaning
That was the
in that
first
next
year.
year they found them.
Oh, all right. And magically appeared.
And sometimes the technology stuff, you know, OIT may have it, you know, being repaired.
Yeah.
And of course, we get this report annually, and Mr. Brown and his staff, they are responsible for an accurate and dependable report of our capital assets. And then it also enhances the accountability of all departments of how our tax dollars are being spent. So thank you very much for this report.
Thank you.
All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, we're ready for item 14. And we do not have anything from this because this did we have
It's in
something?
the minutes.
That's right.
Property management.
Gentlemen, this is a recommendation approving a concept to build out the archives building. You're going to need to scroll down to the bottom under other committee minutes and go to property management, and you will see Mr. Lodell presented this idea about the archives expansion. Commissioner Gooch moved, seconded by Commissioner Coggin, to approve the concept of the archive build-out to hold the Linebaugh Library History Room materials and forward this to the Budget Committee. And you will notice in the paragraph above there, Mr. Lodell gave an estimate of $1,431,750. There was some discussion about that estimate.
Reckon?
Yeah. But
Like 60,000
they're
or
working
something.
on some funding sources. So really, Mr. Burgess, you may just sort of clarify a little bit when the details of the concept. What are we actually agreeing to?
Well, we're just agreeing that we think it's a reasonably good idea. That Linebaugh has been talking about this with archives for probably a year and a half, that they're out of space at the main library at Linebaugh, we know that. And this space where they have their research materials, books, genealogy, all of that, would come over to an expanded area of our archives building, and then that would free up their space over there. Saying all that to say, we don't know what the cost would be, but it would be about 8,000 square feet. It could be more than $1 million, and I don't see the number, but yeah, 1.4 million is what, that was sort of a preliminary estimate. Part of it would be just an expansion of the current archives building for our storage purposes, about 3,000 feet to about 5,000 feet. That would be in this research area that would be staffed, and it would bring the whole collection they currently have from Linebaugh here with their shelving and all of that and their tables and chairs. So all of that would come over with the project, and there would be a staff person there that would be an employee of Linebaugh, but that employee would potentially be funded by the county. All of this right now is just conceptual. We're not asking you to approve a single penny, but we're going to sort of continue this little dialogue. We're going to see more closely what the cost would be, and then we're going to see if there might be some funding sources available before we bring anything forward to the Budget Committee.
And my recollection, maybe I'm going a step further, is that they might even explore external funding sources.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We would explore that external funding sources first to see if there's some potential there, and then we would see if there is, then how much, if we've got all of it or part of it, then we'd have to come back and see then with a more specific proposal where not there yet to give you any specific request. I met again today with Ms. Shacklett and Mr. Lodell just to explore a plan of how we can continue this discussion and discovery, you might say, on how we can move forward. It is a great idea. It would consolidate everything, all the people that come to do these research projects, either in our building or their building, and we'd all be together there, and they'd have access to all the tools and material that they would choose. And they're getting, I don't know, I did write it down, but I didn't bring it, lots and lots of people visiting their research center, and we are as well.
That's $175 a foot. Does that include all the equipment and all, and the 1.4 million? That sounds awful pricey to me.
I have questioned the cost of that project. I think it's overinflated. The architect, it's just a half page estimate. He's got a huge contingency in there, and the cost per square foot is too much in my judgment. So what I'm saying, we don't know the precise number. We've asked him to revisit that before we go talk to an external source potentially. It would probably be in excess of $1 million, but I don't know if it's going to be $1.4 million.
From property management.
If we're not asking for money, why does it even come to the budget committee?
Well, I don't know.
Wouldn't you just go property management, take it to the commission, endorse the concept? Because we're not talking money yet.
We're not talking any money here.
It's preparing us for the check writing.
No, preparing for you to just.
Yeah.
I don't even think we ought to take it to the commission yet until we get real numbers and come back to budget and then move it forward.
But do you want something some action from this committee at least?
If they want
to endorse it conceptually.
Just endorse the concept that the budget committee is, not the budget, property management sort of.
That to continue.
That's all this.
To continue.
All this is really going to accomplish.
Not forward to the commission.
I don't even think we should forward it to the commission yet. It's not ripe for any discussion there. And like Mr. Jordan said, it's not ripe for discussion here. It's actually. Yeah.
Well, it's like what we just talked about the school. It's informing us about what's coming, what's needed, that they're going to have we're going to have action on this later down the road.
Just simply say you've recognized the property management's recommendation and you've listened to a presentation that explained the project and do nothing.
Could we say we've been informed now?
We've been informed.
Just acknowledge that we have the information. Would someone make the motion that acknowledge that we have been informed?
I'll make the motion that we've been informed.
Thank you, Commissioner Baum.
Received the information.
And seconded from Commissioner Sandlin. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
An awful lot like a want instead of a need to me, but I don't mean to be too sarcastic.
Gentlemen, let's take a quick look at the budget schedule. Was it back in January? We had our budget calendar. December. If you will look at this budget schedule, there are 5 dates in yellow that are new dates. Are there any problems or any questions about any of these dates?
Commissioner Ely, I would have a conflict on June the 18th. I don't know if it would be possible to move that to a different night, or if
that is following that's following the public hearing to discuss if we need that. Some years we have not necessarily needed that. Is there a problem with changing that date to the following night?
Yes, and Ms. Nolan checked in the room. This room is available, the next night.
Okay. Is that a problem for anyone if we change June 18 to June 19?
What day of the week is that?
Wednesday.
That'll be a Wednesday.
Of course, at least the last 2 years, I don't think we've used that night.
That's true. That's true.
Nobody shows up for the public hearing. Then
is there a problem with anyone? Okay, let's consider June 19 then to be changed, or June 18 to be changed to June 19. Any other discussion on these new dates?
Oh. June 6th is always a problem for me, but I'll deal with it.
That's our regular meeting, though.
Oh, that's my 43rd anniversary.
We're better else to spend.
There you go. I'll bring her that night, okay?
Gentlemen, could we have a motion on these dates with the change from June 18 to June 19?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Jordan.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Schaefer. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. If you will now go to items 16 and 17, starting with item 16. When I say we, the Finance Department is required to give us this information. It is required to be on our agenda and at least presented to the county commission.
We just have to present it to.
As a result
the
of our
commission.
refunding.
And this, I'll talk about both of them. This first one was 38.4 million refunded. We received a premium of 5.4 million. We received a AA1 rating from Moody's, a AA plus from Standard & Poor. Our true interest cost on this one was 2.4214.
Is that the same ratings we've had? I know.
Yeah, that's the thing we had last time.
I think so, second highest.
And then the next one, the one that we just saw on 16, that was the tax exempt one. The second one is the taxable issue of almost 27.3 million. Again, the same ratings. True interest cost on this one was 1.58333.
What was the term, the length?
It's a shorter length because
Yeah.
it was a
Finishing out what was there before.
We don't extend the length when
Yeah.
we've done these refundings. It's still over the same amount of period as what the original was.
And this is for information only, gentlemen, so we do not need to take any action. It's just a requirement. It meets a requirement that Mrs. Nolan has.
And on the third page of both of these, that gives you the expenses of the debt, the refunding for the cost of issuance. You don't need to do anything. We just have
Okay.
to present it.
All right, thank you. Gentlemen, the next item
Could
on
I commend the finance department for staying on top of that and saving us
Absolutely.
huge money right there.
Can I take y'all to one more place, and that is where we were talking about the schools? 'Cause there's is it under 11, Elaine? Yeah, under that tab 11, that third item, that savings achieved through refunded debt. If you don't mind
Yes.
going there, I did this schedule for you to show you what we have saved by doing the refundings. We did one in 2010, one in 2011, and then these two in 2012. In 2010, we saved 5.7 million. In 2011, we did almost 4.2. So between these last issues, we've saved the county almost 15.2 million with these refundings.
Right.
Ditto on the awesome job.
Okay, we're ready for item 18. We have a request from
We need all the help
Ms.
we
Duke,
can get.
who's also been waiting patiently, and you are requesting permission to submit a grant application.
Why did you get thrown all the way at the bottom of the agenda?
Because it was the last minute.
Oh.
Yeah,
I
she
didn't get to bring it
procrastinated.
to public safety. I talked to Commissioner Farley.
See
and-
what happened?
I know. We'll never do that again.
You're a fast learner, aren't you?
Thanks, Commissioner Farley.
We have a grant opportunity for at least $250,000 through the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, which is a part of the U.S. Department of Justice, for a community-based violence prevention demonstration program. So we were just asking permission to go ahead and apply for this. And I didn't want to get too far into the actual writing of doing the application. Didn't want to start spinning my wheels until we knew that it was okay to
So it looks
apply.
like either 1.5 or 250. So what? Somewhere
at
in
the very
between there?
least, it's 250, and then
Uh-huh.
at the most, it would be 1.5.
I got that. But
Yeah.
I'm saying where you don't know.
No match.
And then no matching.
requirements,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Well, we're probably going to shoot
Do
for 250.
Yeah, right there is where.
Gentlemen?
As far as
Says here, not expected number of awards, so that would be 250. It's 6. It says 6 right there, so that'd be 250 each. So, is that new? Is this new employees for this grant?
Well, we're actually going to be doing this in conjunction with the Smyrna Police Department, and I don't know the captain that's going to be working with me on it. And we didn't want to sit down and really start coming up with,
I just always want to stress, if somebody's hired with grant money, I'll make
Yes.
sure they realize their position is in jeopardy whenever the grant runs
yes,
out.
well, I do understand that, and I'll pass that along.
She's asking permission to submit for this grant.
Absolutely. Motion to approve.
Commissioner Sandlin. Commissioner Jernigan, thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Is there any other business that needs to come before our committee, gentlemen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Commissioner Shea?
Yeah, this is the second Saturday of the month, and it's March, and
What does
that means
mean?
that Laverne Rescue Squad has their ham breakfast
Oh,
from 6 to 10 a.m. this coming Saturday, March 9th, on Gamble Lane, right off the old Nashville Highway in Laverne.
I saw move.
I also have one other item, another grant opportunity. MTSU, one of their professors out there, is proposing to have a partnership request on a grant to the NIH, the National Institute of Health, with our EMS and with the NHC. This is an effort to try to stop the overuse of our ambulance service and our emergency rooms. They have some statistics they've already sort of gathered that of 8,000 runs per year on citizens over 65, 1,000 of those runs, which is a large percentage of them, are for just 238 people. So they see a trend here of some people using these services, and they want to find a way to see if that can be reduced and improve the efficiency of EMS and our emergency rooms. Therefore, again, we don't know if we'll get it. There will be no match here. They budget, they're estimating for 1 year for our participation. There'll be no new employees. It'll be us using our people and NHC using their people to follow up with these folks and see if they can retrain them, you might say, in how they should use these services. It's about $80,000. So we need permission, again, to apply for the grant.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Schaefer, seconded by Commissioner Bond.
And I want you to know I wasn't one of the 238 that are over 65.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Anything else that needs to come before our committee? Thank you, gentlemen. We are adjourned.